Okay, I think we're gonna start.
Do your vocal exercises.
Yeah. Woo!
Okay. Theater kid jokes.
Are we all doing this?
No.
That was just for you, Jackson?
Yeah, that's just for my own benefit.
All right, cool. Man. I like it.
He needs it.
Okay, we're starting.
I respect your needs.
Shh, everybody, shh. Hello, my name is Jackson McMurray.
I'm Ilan McMurray.
And I'm Ilan Hernandez.
Oh, and this is No Nerds Allowed, isn't it?
Ain't it just like a skull?
Oh, yeah?
Okay, we have to... Okay.
You good with that one?
Yeah, sure, let's just keep going.
Is that the one take you wanted?
That's it now, I guess so. Okay.
You're like, I wasn't told we were doing accents, so it's like, well, guess I have to do an accent right now.
Hey, man, you just go with it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you gotta go with the flow, keep them on your toes.
Mm-hmm.
If I can be as aggressive and transgressive with this podcast as I can, I'm gonna take the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Aggressive and unaggressive.
If you were here, I would hit you straight up. Be like, yes, and me.
Man, when will we create openly hostile improv?
So,
But no
so
time to talk
Adeline
about
and I,
movies because we'd just be fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Fight Club, but it's a podcast.
We would disagree
So
once
Adeline
and then
and
just
I-
fight the rest of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Adeline and I have this comedy sketch idea where it's just this improv troupe where everyone hates each other and one person has a gun and none of them know which one it is.
It sounds kind of like real life, except without the gun, in my experience.
Yeah.
Like
So it's just this group of people all like trying to do really bad improv sketches and they all just hate each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've never been to an improv class, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's like.
I've been in one. You have to, for my acting program, you have to take one like legit improv class, and then we have an improv group on campus. And I'm not in the group, but I was in the class, and I have a lot of friends who are on the team, and they would all tell stories about, because on every improv team, there's the one guy who thinks he's like king shit and like is given all the gifts, and it's like I have the best ideas and everything, and no.
Right.
Everyone else is a normie.
Yeah, there's all this secret, resentment about who creatively is the best and everything. It's whatever.
Lots of infighting.
Do you want to introduce yourself, Ilan?
Sure. Hi, I'm for new listeners. I'm Ilan Hernandez. I know these two fine people because I went to the same school as them, and we occasionally talk about movies. Previously, so when I discovered their podcast, I was like, oh, this is so cool. And I think I texted you, Jackson. I think I texted you one time after I'd listened to a couple episodes just to say how much I liked it. Because I like listening to movie podcasts. I listen to about two or three in kind of rotation, like from week to week. And I've kind of been kicking around ideas of starting my own podcast because I have my own equipment and I spend a lot of time at home and stuff. So so I appreciate the opportunity to be here today with you guys to talk about one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, because why would you listen to other podcasts when you could listen to us, not know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, you can listen to our bad opinions.
Yeah. Only one of us is old enough to drink. You should listen to us.
I think two of us.
Which one is it? You decide.
I just turned 21. I think there's two of us now.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I did, yeah,
Then
in April,
that makes our opinion much, much more valid. Actually, you brought the correct opinion quotient up 33%.
Wait, Jackson, have you been watching all of these movies drunk? Has that been what this podcast has been? I don't know. Have you? That's a different podcast. We'll do that next.
Can I tell you the absolute truth? Ever since I have been old enough to drink and have been at college, I've only really actually drank 3 times.
Okay. Yeah, man. You only do it with like a group of people, I would assume.
Yeah, well, it's like, I don't know.
That's the most fun.
It's almost always been with my roommates.
Yeah.
And they always just, like, I never buy anything for myself, so whenever they're hanging out, they're like, oh, and it's also only when they've had too much to drink already is when they start giving me their shit.
And they're just trying to get rid of it as fast as possible.
Exactly.
I tried to buy something for myself the other day. I went to closing night at LC. And I was with.
You have to go to that drunk.
Well, here's the thing, man. I wasn't drunk. Here's the story. So I go to support some people, and I went to get drinks with two of my friends afterwards. We went to like this diner downtown that's like open dumb late, and I tried to order something, and one of my friends had already ordered something. She'd gotten her drink, and I was kind of dilly-dallying. I was looking at the menu, and then I order, and I'm pulling out my ID, and the waitress literally says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't accept vertical IDs." And I was like, what? LOL, what? And I was like, well, how else am I supposed to verify my age? She was like, well, I guess your passport. I was like, LOL, I don't have my passport, so I just didn't have a drink that night, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Why would
straight
you
up,
accept?
I like... Yeah, it's so dumb, because even if you're over 21, some places have a rule that you have to get a new ID that, like, is flipped so that they know it's 21. Literally, I got in trouble at a Mod Pizza in Seattle because I tried to buy a drink without a vertical ID.
Oh my god.
Really? Interesting.
Oh, I was gonna say something.
Yeah.
I just thought it was
I remember.
Sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
not old enough to drink, and I haven't drank because I'm a good kid. But I remember I was hanging out with Anna Jackson and all of Anna's friends because they were visiting, and they're all old enough to drink. And so we were hanging out, and it was getting night, and they were like, "Oh man, we want to go to a bar." So I was like, "Okay, I'll go home so you guys can hang out at a bar." But then right before like I left for you guys to go, I think everyone started talking about how much they didn't like drinking, and I was like, why are you guys going to a bar if none of you enjoy alcohol?
Yeah, no, seriously, I was there for them actually going to that bar, and that just continued the whole night. Everybody got a drink, and I liked mine. I got a Moscow Mule, which is Dad's favorite drink in the world.
Yeah.
And I was like drinking it, and I was really enjoying it, and they all got some, other like mixed drinks, and they were all like, yeah, this is okay. I don't know, I don't really like alcohol that much. I was like, okay, guys.
Like, thank goodness we went to a bar.
Yeah, glad you are enjoying yourselves. Jesus.
Anyway, we'll have one of them on the podcast later so we can roast them live.
Probably all of them.
Yeah, let's be all at once.
Oh, man.
Could you do a movie podcast with more than 3 people at once?
I don't know.
I've listened to one with 4. And that's kind of tough, but they're able to kind of bounce it around pretty well.
Right. Kind of pushing it.
Yeah.
The overtalk with 3 people gets pretty bad. As we will show you right now.
Yeah. So, Ilan, do you want to... What movie did we watch today, Ilan?
So, yeah, literally today. I literally just finished watching it a couple minutes ago.
Me too.
I've seen it so many times, but I had to rewatch to take notes. So we watched the very first How to Train Your Dragon from DreamWorks Animation, directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois. Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies.
Ilan, it's Dean DeBlois.
Okay, I don't know. Honestly, like, I think we can probably, like, kick around, like, how you pronounce it. I think that's correct, but I'm not sure.
I'm sure what you said was right. That was...
Yeah. It could also be, like, Dean DeBlois or something like that. I don't know.
What a voice. That's a...
I like DeBlois a little more.
It's pronounced LaCroix.
LaCroix.
It's not LaCroix.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of my favorite... It was one of my favorite movies, and then they kept making movies, and they made some TV shows. And,
they did.
Yeah, they did.
Because it's DreamWorks, and they can't not do that with every single film that they make.
Yeah.
We should do next podcast episode? We should all watch and review the Turbo Netflix original series.
Oh, interesting.
No.
I have not even seen the movie, so I'd have to.
Yeah,
would you rather do Turbo or would you rather do Boss Baby? Those are your options.
I've seen Boss Baby. I could talk about Boss Baby.
No. You misunderstand.
Oh, the TV show?
The
no,
Netflix
I'd rather
original
die.
TV show.
No, absolutely not.
A Turbo sounds more interesting. I don't know. I have no idea.
Why? Hey, so the movie Turbo, Why? Okay, so the snail gets inside of a car engine and turns into a little car snail.
I guess.
Why did we make this movie?
Oh wait, I thought all the snails were little car snails.
I saw a
Yeah, he gets a
trailer
little
for
friend,
it,
yeah.
decided I hated it, and then never saw it.
So, okay, wait. If I do remember seeing the clip where Turbo does fall into a car and get superpowers.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all the
it-
other marketing involves him like racing other snails.
Yeah.
So like if he's Turbo, if he's the titular Turbo,
you
then-
know what?
what?
Because the plot is that he starts racing with like cars, right? And if
Is
you
it?
don't let the little snail car hybrid, part snail, part car, all boy, if you don't let him race with the big cars, then you're the bad guy of the film. Do you
Hold on,
understand how bonkers that is?
that can't be right. That cannot be right. Hold on.
Are we gonna watch?
Are you looking up the plot synopsis of Turbo?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Turbo is a 2013 American computer animated sports comedy film. That's a word.
Sports comedy, good stuff.
Let's see. Oh, come on. Okay. Synopsis.
I'm literally only getting things about TurboTax.
Is there
It's
gonna
because I'm on
be?
freaking Bing.
Is there
Get
gonna
out of
be?
here, Bing.
Is there gonna be some kind of Wreck-It Ralph tie-in or something later on that we're gonna find out about
With Turbo?
Yeah, with Turbo. Yeah.
What?
The guy from the first movie.
Oh, because that's also the bad guy in Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
What was
see.
your very first
We
episode?
reviewed. Yeah, we watched both of those movies, and I forgot about Turbo.
Yeah.
Okay. Theo is a garden snail who dreams of being the greatest racer in the world, just like his hero, 5-time Indy 500 winner Guy Gagné. Is that a real
Okay.
person? Hold on.
That is so interesting.
Okay. Yeah, he
No,
does have a whole
okay.
crew.
Okay. So, he's not a real guy, but in the fiction of this movie, he's a human who is a race car driver.
Yeah.
So, like,
Interesting.
what... Yeah, okay, the movie's about him trying to get into the Indy 500.
Yeah, and if you don't let the snail... Wait, hold on. He is sucked into the supercharger of a Chevrolet Camaro drag racer, fusing his DNA with nitrous oxide. When he wakes up, he possesses great speed and accuracy and some characteristics of a real car.
Okay, first of all, he wakes up from that.
When he
Yeah.
wakes up. When.
Not if.
Unfortunately, his first attempt to show this power off ends with him crashing a tricycle into the garden, getting himself and Chet fired from the garden crew. So they have jobs. There's...
I'm just trying to figure out why there are other snails that also have fins on the back of them and fucking turbines coming out of their shells.
I think it's like when one sports guy does drugs to get better at the sport on accident, but then all of his friends also do the drug to be cool like him.
Yeah, that classic scenario.
Why is Samuel L. Jackson in this movie?
Who knows?
Fucking Ryan Reynolds is in this movie. He's-
Snoop Dogg is in this movie.
Yeah. Hold on, is Ryan Reynolds Chet or whatever the main
Paul
one is?
Giamatti.
Oh,
Michael
that's
Pena.
interesting.
Why are there so many good people in this?
Yeah, it's a good group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Speaking
Why
of
Rudolph?
fins,
speaking of
Speaking of
maybe
fins.
How to Train Your
let's
Dragon.
get back to reptiles, not whatever
Yeah.
snails are. Let's get back to reptiles and how you train them.
Listen, Jackson brought up Turbo. That was his fault.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember how we got into this tangent. Good stuff. A lot of good DreamWorks tangents to be had, I suppose.
Oh god, yeah. Don't get me started.
So anyway, yeah, the first How to Train Your Dragon. Yeah, great movie. I don't know, what do we want to do? I know we usually go chronologically, but is there anything that we do like before we kind of go through our notes and stuff like that?
Right.
I mean-
The first sort of sequence of things I have written down is basically that I'm just not super sold on the voiceover at the beginning and at the end.
Okay.
Because like everything they're showing you would pretty much give you the same information. And then they kind of give you the information a second time in the first like training session.
That is true.
Not to start off as a negative Nancy right
I mean-
away, but that's just the first thing I have written down.
Also, boop, CinemaWins button. They definitely made fun of the opening narration.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about CinemaWins for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's sort of, I mean, obviously it's not like Suicide Squad in any other way, but
What?
I do feel like they kind of introduce us to the characters twice.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely do. I'm fine with it only because they do bookend it with the narrations.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If they did it once and then never did it ever again, then I'd be like, okay. But they at least planned it because it's also at the end.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
good.
I mean, it's almost like a stylistic choice more than it is like a storytelling one.
Yeah, well, especially because it's based on a book that I've never read. It
that's
feels
right.
a little bit. It doesn't feel weird to have an opening narration.
Yeah.
I wonder if those were the opening lines of the book.
That would be cool. Then I'd get it.
Hold on,
Are you gonna
I'm looking
find
up.
an illegal PDF? Of...
No, I'm trying to find the like free sample on Amazon. Hold on.
I wrote
Go
down
to
about.
Costco.
I wrote down the fact that they bookended it with the narration. That they were
Right.
It establishes, it brings in kind of the wit of Hiccup, and then also kind of gives all this hyperbole to kind of establish something, and we'll kind of, I mean, I won't jump to the end, but it just definitely establishes kind of a new Stasis at the end, which I thought was kind of cool.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely. It does also put the whole movie in Hiccup's perspective because he's telling the story basically. So I think that's cool. It's a good way to be like, here's Hiccup. It's him. It's the boy. He's telling the story. It's about him.
Yeah.
Hold on, sorry, 1 second. Give me like a moment. I gotta find out if those are the opening lines to the book. It's not really that interesting of a thing,
No, it's not Jackson.
but I can't find. Hold on.
I know the line "There were dragons when I was a boy" originated from the book. It may or may not be the very first line of the very first book. I'm not sure.
How to Train Your Dragon book free sample.
Get some bread samples while you're there too.
Book series. There's no way. There's no way to know.
Yep.
I guess it's just a mystery that the world will never be the
Thanks
wiser
for
to.
Thanks for doing that, Jackson.
Yeah, thanks for. Yeah, you're welcome for just like ruining a solid 3 minutes of audio for everybody.
Yeah. No, thanks for trying. Yeah, we still kind of had a conversation about the
job.
narration. I appreciate it. The effort is appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elin.
Yeah. Anyway. Before we even get to the narration, though, I wrote down that the first thing we see is that toothless silhouette in the DreamWorks logo. And that was kind of cool. You could even say...
Oh, is he like flying behind?
Yeah. Behind the moon boy.
Right.
I didn't notice that.
Fishing.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
What I really love about this movie is that I remember we owned this on DVD. I couldn't find the DVD, but I remember watching this on the DVD and they had all the behind the scenes stuff, which I loved because I loved animation. But they talk about the fire animation so much in the behind the scenes because I could tell that's like what they like worked the hardest on.
Yeah,
they were like,
absolutely.
oh, we gotta make this fire look good, and they freaking nail it. Like,
Yeah.
especially because the opening scene is the dragons attacking. Like, you kind of have to sell the movie on the animation, like, right then, because that should be the coolest part of the movie.
Right.
So to have the fire just be super cool and super different is, like, they just nailed it. It's super successful.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that you can kind of see their like resource allocation because like one of the things that like stood out to me was that the hair on all the people is a little bit weird in this.
Yeah, it's
Like,
very thick, very
yeah.
broom-like.
And like even compared to something like The Incredibles or like even Shrek, which is like way older, like I think
Oh, yeah.
they didn't have quite as good as hair as those movies did.
I
But
am
like as
still
far as
blown away by the animation in the Shrek movies.
They're
like,
so good.
Like compared to the stuff that was coming out at the same time as Shrek, we're going on a different DreamWorks movie tangent again, but
Right.
it's related this time. Cause like with the Shrek movie, like it was like the only other animated movie at that time was like Toy Story, wasn't it?
yeah, computer generated pretty much.
Yeah. And like, let's be real, the animation in Toy Story isn't the best. It's all very
No.
solid shapes.
It
And then
only
you get
works
to
because the
Shrek.
characters are made of plastic.
I mean, but that's absolutely intentional. And then you get
Yeah.
to Shrek and you have like people with like fabric in their skirts and hair and grass and leaves and it just gets crazy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think
But
that
yeah.
that and this movie kind of nails texture in a way that's pretty cool
totally.
to look at. Yeah.
Right.
very immersive.
No, yeah, and that's what I was saying. It's like right at the beginning, I was like, oh, the hair's a little off. Like, it seems like this movie came out in 2011. It seems like they should have gotten the hair down by now. I was like, ugh. You know, like, does this movie not age as well as I thought it did? But then, like, dragons started attacking, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, that's where the hair money went, was into the dragon attack.
Inside of the dragon ate it.
I think it came out in either, like, late 2009 or... Yeah, it had to have come out in late 2009 because it was up for Oscars in 2010. I'm pretty sure.
True.
I think. I could be wrong.
Let's see.
How to train... Everyone Google. Who can Google the fastest?
Who can do it the fastest? 2010.
Boom. Yep, there we go. Okay.
but yeah, so, like, I don't know.
Is that a confirmation?
Yeah, that's a confirmation,
Yeah.
2010.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting the way that this movie, it spends so much time, like, setting up this really explicit, like, set of rules for dragons.
Yeah.
Like, I might be jumping forward a little bit. Do you guys have anything else particularly to note about, like, the opening sequence besides that it's really pretty?
What makes me laugh about it is that you have this scene where you're introducing all the characters. And it's like, oh, my name's Hiccup. Haha, that's quirky. Oh, we give our kids weird names because we're Vikings. Lol. But, so we're introducing all the other kids, and their names are all stupid stuff. And there's like, and then there's my favorite one. Her name's Astrid. But, like, Astrid's just a regular name.
Yeah, that's like a person's name.
Yeah, do her parents hate her?
I always, every time I'm watching any of these movies, I always flash back to that Office bit where they're all like, "Did you name your kid Ass Turd?"
Yeah. I feel like they wanted to make that joke too, but instead they just gave her a regular name. But yeah.
The thing that I wrote about Astrid, I there's a lot of my notes that kind of pertain to Astrid in this. But something I wrote about the very first time we see her is with the flame. It seems kind of derivative, but I mean, it shows very early on that she is very comfortable living close to the edge or next to, in the midst of battle and explosion and stuff like that. And I thought that was cool. And I think that's something that Hiccup is instantly attracted to because he wants to be that so bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing I had about the opening sequence was like just kind of establishing things. Like, I love the voice acting. I thought that first scene with Gobber and Hiccup in the shop is really great, and it establishes such a great level of chemistry with the voice performances that I really appreciate. And all the I think that first time we see the plasma blast from Toothless, the Night Fury. Oh yeah. The contrasts with the night sky and everything, that was so cool. So cool looking.
Shoots that like blue purple flame.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's really cool about Toothless's animation is the sound design that comes with him, where you have like that like rising note as he flies by, and then you have that burst of sound as he shoots that fireball. Like, it's really scary and really impressive.
Yeah, man. No, and one of the things that this movie does really well that it reminds me. I just went to see the new Godzilla the other day, and they have a similar idea where it's like all of the dragons have like their own really explicit like type of fire, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like the big red one, the Nightmare shoots like this like molten magma out of his mouth, and the blue one just shoots kind of regular flames, and the Night Fury has like that blue plasma bolt, Yeah. They've almost got like their own unique like style of breathing fire for every individual type of dragon, which I think is really fun.
Yeah. I'm kind of a How to Train Your Dragon like nuts, you could say, so I have all these random facts. But like about the Monstrous Nightmare, so basically it has like this this flammable gel that it uses to, that's why it takes on the personification of like magma when it like when it's like out and about. So like in future movies when you see like little bits of gel that they have, it's Monstrous Nightmare gel that they get from those dragons so that they can use it in the field as well. It's kind of cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's dope.
So yeah, okay. And speaking of the Monstrous Nightmare, they introduced that at the beginning, and the first thing they say about it is, oh, it has a nasty tendency of lighting itself on fire, which is awesome. But they never really do that. Like, if you're gonna say that at the beginning, that thing should always be on fire.
It lights itself on fire when Hiccup has to kill it.
But then it goes
out, and...
Yeah. I don't know. They already spent a lot of money on fire in this movie, so I kind of get it. But still, like, you shouldn't set us up for it so explicitly, because it's like, oh, this dragon's gonna be on fire a lot of the time, is what they're telling me. It's like, hey, check out, just wait until it sets itself on fire, and then it like never really does.
Well, I absolutely love the dragon design in this movie because it's so different than any other kind of like dragon characters that we've seen. Like, they're not medieval dragons even a little bit, but they're also not like Chinese dragons or all these other iterations. Like, they're very original concepts for dragons. Mm-hmm. And it's a plot point kind of that they have that big book that has all these terrifying dragons in it and how scary they are and how horrible they are to humans and all that stuff. But then in the movie, we really only get those, like, 4 kinds of dragons.
Yeah,
and then
I
those
know.
are just, like, the dragons. And, like, there's that one dragon that's called, like, the Timber Cleaver or something, where, like, the tips of its wings are so sharp that it, like, cuts the trees. Like, that's so cool. Where's that dragon?
Yeah, no, I have written down in my notes, hey, don't fucking tease us with these dope dragons.
Like, these cooler dragons.
Yeah. I don't think throughout any of those movies, or even the TV show, you see a Timberjack. You see Timberjacks in the second movie briefly in the beginning sequence, but you don't get to see them.
Oh, really?
I don't know if I remember any moments of them slicing through cheese. Sorry, what I was gonna say
There's
though.
also. No, you go.
Sorry, I lost it. Go ahead.
Okay. There's also in that scene where Hiccup's like looking through the book and researching dragons and scaring himself and whatever. But they also talk about one dragon that turns people inside out.
Yeah.
And they just keep on going after that.
They don't take a second.
Yeah. They're like, oh, it's so scary. This one blows really hard. This one has, like, acid. This one spews hot water, whatever. And it's like, this one turns people inside out. Anyway, it's like, what? Hold on a second.
Just to clarify.
What does that mean?
Just to clarify, I think you meant, I don't know, like blows wind. I don't think you meant to say blow really hard.
Which one blows really hard? I don't know.
That sounds a little yes.
This one sucks so much.
Yeah, it sounds a little too much. Sorry, what I was going to say earlier though is that you're right. These concepts are really original, and one of the reasons is that the creative team took a lot of inspiration from animals, different types of animals. So like Toothless, the Night Fury, is kind of like a mix of, he's kind of dog and cat, sort of like his he takes a lot of inspiration from like big cats, like a panther and stuff like that, which is really, really cool. And then like the Deadly Natter, the blue dragon that Astrid rides, she kind of has a lot of parrot inspiration, which is pretty cool.
More bird-like.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're coming to something like dragons. Like, dragons have such a huge history, like, in modern storytelling, but also in, like, ancient storytelling. So to come with that with, like, something, like, pretty much completely new is really, really impressive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's still, I don't know. I still think there should have been more different kinds of dragons in it. Like, I know you gotta pay people to, like, make the dragons, but still, like...
Pay people to make the dragons. You're making 3 of these. You can do it.
If you watch the TV show, the TV show kind of expands on the mythology of different dragons, which is pretty cool.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then you might see a couple newer looking ones throughout the 3 feature films that are pretty cool.
I was gonna say, I've seen the second one. I don't think I know I haven't. I haven't had a chance to see the third one yet because I've been waiting to watch it with Anna.
Yeah, that's great, man. Whew. It's a ride. It's a ride for sure.
All right, noted.
Well, going through the first part of this film, the first few opening scenes, we're getting introduced to all the characters and stuff. I do feel like the weakest part of this movie is probably just like the base plot of weird skinny kid who's really smart isn't strong and dumb like us. We're gonna bully him, but then he's gonna be cool later. Like, I feel like that's just every story that's ever been made a little bit, and they do expound upon it and they do some really cool things, but just like at the barest bare minimum. It's kind of like, okay.
Right. Well, that's the thing about this movie is that, like, plot-wise, it's really nothing particularly special or interesting or unique, but what makes the movie so good and what made it, like, resonate so strongly with people was, like, how likable the characters and the voice acting performances are, how cool the dragon designs are, and how good the, like, aerial sequences feel.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and, you know, like, the action and the fire effects and stuff. It's like, you know, it's almost like the plot is just, like, this bare bones, like, coat hanger that they just, like, are draping all these other cool things that you
Put
want
a really cool
on top
coat
of.
on.
Yeah, exactly.
This dragon coat.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that I kind of have a different weakness that is kind of there through all three, but I would say that you're not wrong because it's definitely something we've seen. You know, the only thing I would really say about that is that I guess there has to be a way that we show that he's different from everyone else. You know, like he really is like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole or whatever, or whatever. So I guess over time I've sort of become maybe a bit of an apologist for that, or I've sort of gone right over my head. But I think that the biggest weakness that I'm surprised wasn't more developed in the two films after was the supporting characters. Like, those guys did not change very much. They did not become more dynamic throughout.
No. Yeah.
And a note that I had later on, but it's fine, I can talk about it now, is that what was really kind of disappointing for me, but I understand because it's not her story, is that I wanted to learn more about Astrid. I thought she was so cool, and I think that she's such an important character to Hiccup specifically in how she challenges him. But like, think about this. These are two characters that end up falling in love and so and so, but we never meet her parents. We have no idea who her family is. Like,
she falls out of the sky, and no one really freaks out.
And I don't know that it would have needed that much time to just establish that, hey, they exist. Because otherwise, like, for me, who's been watching these movies and rewatching them for a long time, it makes me wonder, like, what's going on? Like, what is this? And I mean, that's natural for someone who watches something over time and starts to expand the details in their mind and build more of the world from the jumping off point of the film. But I think that would have been something interesting to see, because I feel like the other, and especially in the show, it's a weakness because you basically have Hiccup and Astrid, who are kind of the two most competent, and then you have all these other people, like, at least Fishlegs is smart. Like, he's kind of an encyclopedia when it comes to dragon stats and stuff like that. But he's kind of limited. Snotlout and the twins are both just so kind of like, their fatal flaw is that they're just dumb. And I feel like they don't.
Just very comic relief.
I feel like they could have done a little bit more with that. They make it work in all three features, I think, to where it's not super distracting, but if you're someone who's really looking for more out of that aspect, I think that's a bit of a letdown.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, all the supporting characters are basically just like vehicles for famous character actors to be goofy, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I would disagree with that.
Watching this movie, I was trying to figure out why I didn't like Astrid. Because Astrid should be my total jam, and I couldn't figure out why she just, like, wasn't clicking with me. And I think it's just because she's a little too basic as a character trope. Like, she just kind of goes into your face as strong female character. Like, she has acts, is strong, is independent, and that's great. But then she doesn't do anything really in the movie. Like, she gives Hiccup a pep talk, and she's there emotionally for Hiccup, and they have a cool relationship. But if you, like, point at stuff that she, like, actually does in the movie, she doesn't do anything. Like, we establish her as a super strong character, and then she doesn't do anything.
Right, yeah. And it's, I don't know, to me it's more like the, I don't know, I like the sort of character arc that she has. I don't like that it's fixed, like, immediately when they go on the dragon ride. You know?
It's as cool and beautiful as the dragon ride is.
Yeah, but it's just like, you know, she's really angry, like at the start of it. She like, and you totally feel it with her. You're like almost there with her in those scenes because it's like she's been working her whole life, and this kid is just like blowing everything off and just doing things his own way. And it's like, I earned this, I deserve it, and she wants to like expose him. And I think that's like a really deeply sort of relatable sentiment in a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, check it out, we can fly. And she's like, oh wow, will you be my boyfriend? It's like
I feel I have a bit of a different perspective on this because I feel like when you watch it a certain amount of times, what I found was that I think that one of her bigger purposes at least in this first chapter of the story is she's the first person you see Hiccup change, sort of like it's like that whole scene is like almost a group empathy session, if you know what I mean. Like I totally understand. It seems like a bit of an unreasonable turnaround to just flip from pure anger and resentment to, will you be my boyfriend? Or like, oh, this dragon is amazing. And I totally get that. Yeah. But I think that we had to see, but before we knew it was possible to see Stoic change, we had to see someone kind of similar change. And I think that I don't know necessarily that it's entirely romantic. I know that seems hard to believe, but I feel like initially she's drawn to him because he's like he's real. He's not trying to be something he's not at that point, because at that point he's sort of embraced who he is a little more. And I think that I wrote down that I think that she feels like because when she is in that scene in the arena, when she runs in to save him from Hook Fang, I was thinking, why does she care? Like, what does she have to lose if something catastrophic and devastating happens and a tragedy happens in this ring? And I thought, what does she have to lose? And I thought, she has to lose like the one person who she's probably made the most real connection with. I don't think she knows if it's quite romantic or anything yet, but I think that forges a really meaningful connection between those two people who before that had sort of just been trying to embrace their roles in the village and their, the way they're going to follow in their parents' footsteps, but they didn't really, I don't know that these people really get to know each other as people at that young of an age. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's kind of what's meaningful to her before anything ever really gets super romantic.
You know what would be super cool? I would love just like one scene where Hiccup's dad is like, man, Hiccup, I wish you could be more like Astrid. Like, I want a connection between Hiccup's dad and Astrid. I feel like that would be such a cool character thing to do.
Or like,
does that happen at all in the later movies?
Astrid doesn't really have any connections with anybody in this movie. She just kind of exists on her own. I mean, besides Hiccup, obviously.
Yeah, she's kind of connected to Hiccup. She really, she doesn't, like, in the second movie, he kind of, wait, who's seen the second movie? Jackson, you have.
Yeah. I have not.
You have not. So there's something in the very beginning of the second movie that establishes, I guess, a very small inkling of a connection, but you never really see the two of them interact very much. Mm-hmm. But there is an implied sense that Stoic is like, this girl, oh yeah, that girl is a dynamite gal, Yep. She's great. She's on
cool,
her own.
yeah.
But the fact that she's with my son is like awesome,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I approve.
Okay, so I want to go back.
This dragon blows super hard.
I want to go back, so just so we can kind of get back on our chronological track.
Yeah, we did a lot of big themes there. We should just get little again.
There's so when we're getting into the the training sessions, sort of. Mm-hmm. They're explaining all these like really specific rules. It's like, oh, dragons only have a finite number of shots, and you gotta get in their blind spot, and loud noises affect them. It's like, cool, that sort of like builds the world in its own kind of way, and it feels fun while it's happening. But my problem is, like, in the final battle at the end, none of those things are relevant at all.
I see what you mean.
It's like they all just don't work.
And they kind of I noticed this time, they kind of threw it away. It was like, he doesn't have a blind spot. What do we do? You know,
Right.
like that was kind
He can shoot forever, and he doesn't have a blind spot, and loud noises don't bother him. Like, oh no!
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, then why did we spend so much time with that earlier?
Yeah, that's a bit tricky. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know how to defend that other than like, yeah, crazy man. It just must be a whole different breed, I guess. It must be a whole.
That's crazy,
It's
dude.
a whole different breed, I guess, that just is
Yeah.
outside of all those rules or something.
Yeah.
Queen bee.
Really
Also,
quickly.
oh, go ahead.
Or sorry, really quickly. Do we want to go a little bit before that to the whole sequence before with him and the dragon in the woods?
Yeah.
Before that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
one
like
of-
the most important.
not the most important, but pretty major. I
Yeah.
love the fact that in that whole sequence when he's like making his way through the woods, once his wits are about him. I wrote down that the fact that you have like the score, editing, like POV camera movement, and then like the vocal performance that sells like the tone of that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that whole sequence. I appreciated it more. And I thought that the use of POV cam was surprisingly like solid like throughout this movie. I love when it's kind of it looks basically kind of like a little bit like GoPro, like from his
Right.
perspective. And it's so cool seeing that dragon like for the first time out in the open.
Oh yeah.
Really, really neat stuff.
I still love that shot when he like first approaches Toothless and his Toothless's eye is closed in that shot, and then we have the camera positioned closer to his face and his wing goes over his face and then he's
Yeah.
staring right at Hiccup, and it's such
Yeah.
a cool shot.
That is so cool, yeah.
And yeah, and that's the thing. Like I was saying earlier, like the things that really, really sell this movie are basically like a Toothless. Like the
Yeah.
fact that he's so likable and the fact that he feels so real as an animal. And like a lot of the times when you're doing like dragons and stuff in animation, like in
You
the
get
real
Puff
world,
the Magic Dragon.
yeah, like in the real world, there's a reason there's nothing that flies that's bigger than like a big bird. Like
Yeah.
it's because they have like weight and like beings are really heavy. So a lot of the times if you're trying to make like a dragon and it's like flying around, it's hard to make that feel real, that it's like actually flying by like just flapping its wings, but like they play it so well in this, and it feels so natural the way he's like crawling up the walls and like trying to get off the ground, but he can't quite. Like it feels like a real thing moving in a real space.
Yeah.
That is like really, really tricky to pull off.
Yeah, I think before I wrote down, I think that before Hiccup ever even cuts him loose, it's so moving, that moment where he kind of he tries to like get into character basically, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna cut out your heart and take it to my father and whatever, and he raises the knife, and then we see Toothless kind of like almost accept his fate, when he kind of like his head kind of hits the ground and he kind of just closes his eyes and waits for the inevitable. And this is before we ever even hear anything in previous movies about like, whether or not there are other Night Furies or if he might be the last of his kind. This is way before we like have any clue about any of that. But so in the moment, it's just we're seeing someone, kind of just mourning the fact that they're about to die, which is really kind of human in itself. And
Very
I think,
intense.
Yeah.
and I think that just seeing Hiccup decide not to do that is the cornerstone of this franchise. It's one, and it's very palpable in the third one, I'll tell you, because it's just that one quick decision, that one moment of empathy that changes everything, that changes the course of both of their lives pretty much. And I think it kind of extends to the possibility of what empathy can do for other people in their lives when they decide to, I guess, which I thought was pretty cool.
Honestly, I didn't really read Toothless like closing his eye in that moment as like waiting for death. Like the whole time in that scene when Toothless is just looking at him, I don't know, I don't see like fear in his eyes. To me, it just feels like a weird
don't?
confidence.
Interesting.
He's like,
There
I'm
is
a fucking
definitely-
dragon. What are you gonna do? Like,
There is a little bit of that in the beginning. I feel like when Hiccup first approaches and you have that shot of him looking straight at Hiccup, there is a little bit of, like, that's, like, kind of dragon confidence. Like, I'm a dragon. If I was not bound up right now, I would kill you. But I super agree with Ilan, though. Like, that moment where he, like, closes his eyes and he has his hand over his heart, basically. It is very sad. Like, you could tell that he knows humans. He's fought humans. He knows he's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess I just like that scene better if Toothless is like, do it, pussy. It's like, what are you going to do? Come on.
Yeah. Because, I mean, yeah.
Anyway.
Because then when he cuts...
About empathy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because when he cuts him loose and then he just kind of gets up and, you know, shoves him against the rock and, you know, ends up sparing him, like, you understand that it's because, like... you could be right, Jackson. Maybe at that point, afterwards, after the fact, he's like, you know what? If this pussy wasn't man enough to kill me, I'm not going to kill him. I like to think it's more of a, you know what, I don't have time for this, you know, a life for a life, see you later, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of interesting. It's interesting to know that you have a being who's not human, who we get a sense still has some kind of intuition emotionally to understand, I'm not going to kill him because he didn't kill me. I'm just going to move on with my life and try to get out of here, you know?
They do such a good job of keeping Toothless as, like, an animal. And they do push it a little bit sometimes.
Yeah,
they do get a little bit too cartoony with
He
him.
definitely, like, understands English perfectly.
Yeah, they do that with him. And for me, there's that moment where he draws that picture of Hiccup. And I can let that moment slide because it's a beautiful moment and a really pretty and cool scene. And it's a very big moment in their relationship. So I can let it slide. That's a little bit crazy that this dragon just drew a picture. But... later, right before
like,
the Astrid,
squigglies. He saw the idea of drawing and thought, oh, that's cool, I'll try it. And then he drew like gibberish, like a bunch of squiggly lines.
Oh no, it's in the
tree.
shape of Hiccup's face. It's a very bad Hiccup's face, but there's definitely like 2 eyes, a nose, and some hair.
Oh, I
gotta
noticed
pull
that.
up a screenshot.
I have never noticed that. That is so interesting.
Yeah, that's what it takes. Because the first time I watched the movie, I was like, oh, he just drew some squigglies. I like that. But then I really looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, that's Hiccup's face. That's not.
Yeah,
a dog couldn't do that.
I never read into that. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Stick drawing. I don't know how to pull this up. Let's see.
I don't know what your plan is. Stop Googling things.
These are all coloring pages.
But yeah, it definitely makes like a super rough face with like some eyes and a nose, and that's what really takes me out of it. But
okay,
there's a scene kind of like that too, where I feel like Toothless gets too human. Is when Astrid basically figures them out, it kind of exposes them, and he's like, "Oh, girl, I'm glad she's leaving. Bye." And it's like, okay, that's a little too much. He like does like a little dance and like turns away, and like makes like a sound and stuff. And it's just, especially when this movie is so much about how these are 3-dimensional like animals. Like the point that they're animals is really, really important, because it's like. All evidence of poaching and hunting animals and stuff has come back to the fact like, oh, animals are dangerous. So this movie to be like, they're not monsters, they're just animals, I think is a really cool thing to say. But then it's like, herpeter, I'm toothless. Look how cute I am.
Like they're
So,
animals.
Yes.
I've pulled up a picture of this drawing. It's not
No,
dog.
okay.
It's not dog. This person is like drawn. I'm gonna drop this in the Discord chat. This person
I
is
will
like
trace it.
drawn an outline of what they think it looks like, and it's just.
Okay, pull it up, because I can
isn't.
draw on my computer and I will show you. This won't go in the podcast because it's not funny.
No, it
but...
will. Hold on. I'll cut out me saving images and whatever, but.
Okay, I have to draw on it too, but I'll show you the face.
Save it to the desktop. Don't put it in my Muppets podcast folder. What the fuck are you thinking?
This is great audio, Jackson.
Hold on. Okay.
Yeah, no. Let me show you.
Wait, how do I see this?
Okay, let me show you.
Just look at Discord on the like sort of page with our chat in it.
Alright, so I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, I'm looking now.
Pink is me. I'm gonna draw it. So it's like this is an eye. This is not what I want. Sorry. This is an eye. This is an eye. This is a nose. And you have like the shape of the head and like the hair. It kind of looks like George Washington, but it's like absolutely a face. No, let me show you.
Okay. I don't know. I guess it would probably be better with a clean screenshot.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I'm kind of seeing something, but like.
Yeah, no, let me show you.
No.
Let me
it's
show you.
nothing.
Let me show you.
It feels like squigglies, though. I don't know.
Well,
I
it's
don't
like
know.
it's like the two eyes and the nose, and there's like the shape of the chin,
Oh.
and then there's some hair.
What? Bro, what?
It's very rough. It's not a good face, but it's absolutely a face. It's a face.
I don't know. I don't think it's a face.
I
It's a
have no
face.
I'm gonna watch
idea.
the director commentary and see if they say whether it's a face or not.
It's absolutely a face.
I don't know, man. That's
I don't
crazy.
think
to
it's a
me.
face.
It's a very rough face, but it's a face.
It's not a face.
I don't know.
It's two eyes and a nose. He's still a dog or whatever, but like, yeah.
He's still he's still a what word am I looking for? I can't. Omniscient lizard or something. I have no idea.
Omniscient.
A super intelligent. Okay, I'm gonna do a reverse image search, see if I can't get a clean
A
screenshot.
blank screenshot, yeah. It's okay, there's like absolutely two eyes and a nose right there.
I guess while we're talking about this moment that this whole picture is from, I think
that you
that
can't see, dear listeners.
I would say that we can kind of almost vamp on topic while we're looking for these damn pictures. I think that
stupid thing.
I think that this scene, this whole forbidden friendship sequence, is the centerpiece of the movie, and
Absolutely.
I think that there's another piece of music that might rival this, but I think that this is just like the pièce de résistance, or whatever you want to call it. The really great. And what I forgot to say at the very top was that I think that John Powell's score is really immersive right off the bat.
Oh, totally.
I love the music in that opening sequence. Love the music in this scene. The journey that the music takes us on is really great. And I love that this scene... I brought this scene in for a class, an acting class, because they wanted us to bring in clips and talk about them. And me being sort of like, I don't know, I guess maybe I thought I was doing it for variety because everyone else was bringing in live action. But I bring in this animation clip, and we were able to have a good conversation about it. But we had a good takeaway, which is that the whole thing is predicated on connection and nonverbal communication, and understanding how to perform in that
Jackson, this is absolutely
format.
It's not a face.
Understanding how to perform in that format and understanding those moments and what to do is really powerful.
This is
And seeing something like that, it's really cool to see, like, you know, like real people do that, whether it's on a stage or in front of you on the screen. But to even watch something like that be brought to life through animation is something really, really interesting that I'm glad I got to experience.
So it's not a face.
It's absolutely a face. Let me freaking show you. I'm drawing it again because it's so clearly a face. And like
people
these
at
are
home,
the
I hope you got
eyes,
that.
and he's like,
I see what you're.
"Hi."
I know what you're saying.
He's
But-
got two hands.
I think you are wrong. I think you're very wrong. I think it's just a bunch of squigglies.
It's absolutely a face.
Okay. Okay. Here's something else we should bring up. Why does Toothless have retractable teeth?
Cool.
It seems practical, I guess.
It's just like it's not. It doesn't ever. It's never a point in the movie. I don't even think they show him having retractable teeth.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, for sure that is not
It's a
selling this
face!
anymore. That's not selling it anymore for me. I can't.
You don't see the face. It's such a face.
Well, I see the face now
yeah.
through that.
It's such
but
a
like,
face.
I don't think he wears his hair like that.
It's a
No, he
very
don't.
rough face.
You don't.
He's a dog drawing a picture. I don't think it's going to be accurate.
I don't think it's gonna be anything at all, Adeline. He's a dog
a
drawing a
face.
picture.
Okay, so Hiccup is sitting in the dirt, and he's drawing a picture of Toothless's face, and
Yes.
Toothless is like, oh, I could do that. And he grabs a big stick, and he draws Hiccup's face, and it's bad, and it's squiggly, but he still draws his face.
No, he doesn't.
Should we-
just
Yes,
makes
he
some marks in the
does!
dirt 'cause he's a dog.
Really quick, should we make sure that in post or whatever that we link these images in the description so that people
No,
can see what we're
absolutely
looking
not.
at? Yeah,
Never.
Never.
You could put them on the screen,
It
Jackson.
could
Yeah, I think
start a
I might do
good.
that.
It could start a good conversation in the
It's okay.
in the
Yeah.
comment section. I don't know.
It's
I don't
absolutely
know.
a face.
That
Like
first
an NG
person
Jackson.
was trying to say it was
I'm s-
like the profile of a head and a dragon next to it, which is
No, that's stupid.
more bullshit than yours.
There's 2 eyes and a nose. Like,
I don't
that's
know.
absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know.
We gotta keep moving. We can't just talk
Yeah.
about this forever. So yeah, John Powell's score is absolutely great in this. He does a lot of other movies. He does. Elin, have you ever listened to the score for the Solo Star Wars movie?
I did. Yeah, I saw the movie. Liked it.
Because
Liked his
yeah,
score,
that
yeah.
is maybe one of my favorite. It's definitely my favorite Star Wars score because it's the first one that's like, I don't know, just it slaps. Like Star Wars soundtracks are always great as like pieces of scoring for a movie, but like I listen to the Solo soundtrack like all the time because it just bangs so hard. It's so good.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. I have to go back and give it another listen. I don't know that I've listened to it on its own since I saw it.
Yeah.
But I thought his music was a great addition to that movie. I enjoyed it.
Oh, and also I just wanted, this is way back in the training sequences again, but there's this moment where he's giving out the books and he's like, I want you guys to read this. And one of the kids is like, we're going to be reading while we're still alive? Which is like the weirdest, funniest joke in the world. I don't know. That really got me. I thought that was really funny.
It's like, as opposed to being dead?
Yeah, like you're planning
Yeah.
to read when you
When you
die.
die.
Like you're going to go to heaven and you're just going to like read?
Read?
Yeah,
That's
man.
when he's gonna catch up on all his summer reading.
Right.
I guess. You have all the time in the world then.
Yeah.
Okay, so they do this bit where they're like one at a time, like introducing you to these dragons in these training sequences, which are super cool, and most of the time they serve other purposes too, so it's not just existing on its own. But it's
Yeah.
like they show you those little tiny dragons, like way near the end, and you haven't seen them at all previously.
No.
And they
Wait,
pull this gag
what
where
do you mean?
it's-
You mean at the end when they're just chilling and then they come along and they try to steal the fish?
No, I just mean because before that, there's just like a little bit in the training sequence. They're like, "Look at this! It's a little tiny dragon. Be careful!"
Right,
it's
and
like,
then
"What?
it
This
hits
isn't
one
dangerous."
of the twins, right?
Yeah, and it bites his nose.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, why are you saving this for later? Like they're totally setting it up like they're doing a Monty Python bit where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's gonna be this little thing, but then it's gonna freak out and be super dangerous, but they just don't. It's like literally just a tiny dragon that is as powerful as a tiny dragon like that would seem. It's like, why are you
So-
like putting this off till so late in the movie, so late in these characters' training? Like I don't understand the joke.
Oh, well, I see what you mean. I guess I didn't mind it because I thought it fits. It fits into the montage of Hiccup applying all these things he's learning with Toothless into the ring with other dragons.
Yeah, the scene is fine. I have no problems with the scene. I'm saying that dragon should have flipped out and killed somebody. That's what I'm really trying to
Okay.
get at here.
Jackson just wants this little dragon to jump out of someone
Yeah.
alien style. That's all he's saying.
So you wanted that guy to die when it jumped on his face, basically.
Yeah, I wanted him to straight up die.
Well, that would have brought the movie to a grinding halt. But you know,
Yeah.
What does he
Suddenly a
do? He
dragon
doesn't do
just killed a
anything.
dude.
We
Yeah,
already
would've
talked
given
about
it-
how he doesn't do anything.
it would have given it some intrigue. Yeah.
And he's voiced by a rapist, so like, yeah. I think that little guy should have just straight killed him.
I don't know. That was before. I don't know. At least before the allegations came out, I guess.
Yeah. I was gonna say something. I forgot what it was.
Quick fact. He is not in the third movie. There's a different voice actor for T.J. Miller in the third. Sorry to name drop the
That's
guy
hilarious.
if you didn't know who he was
No, it's
before,
alright.
but
Oh yeah. No, they do definitely imply that Toothless is killed. like a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's only one Night Fury, and anyone who's ever seen the Night Fury has not lived to even tell us what it looks like. So
Yeah, for sure.
hey, Toothless.
Or rather, I think his species has killed a lot of humans. I
Yeah.
don't know but I would agree. He probably has killed a lot of humans.
Yeah, he's definitely implied to be the only one in this movie, and I know that's like a theme later in the other films, but like in this movie especially, they're like, there's kind of only one.
Yeah.
Because we don't see any others throughout the whole film, so it's just kind of like, hey, Toothless, you were mad at me because we killed some of you, but like, dude,
Yeah.
you got some baggage too.
Yeah.
So,
You got a body count.
yeah.
Yeah.
we gotta keep chugging along here. Around the time when this is, I don't know if you guys have anything before this, but we're eating up minutes, so I'm saying here's where we are now. We're at the flight with Astrid.
Say that one more time.
We're at the flight with Astrid. That's where we are. You might,
Okay.
I don't know. We might have something to say from before that, but it's too late for that now because we're burning daylight here.
No, yeah, bro. Let's go.
There's this moment where they're flying and it's like starting to be nighttime. The whole scene's like so wonderful and gorgeous, and it like feels so good when you're flying around. But there's this moment where like they fly up into the night sky, and then Aurora Borealis just appears. And I think that's so funny. Like, that just cracked me up. Like,
We just gotta hammer in how pretty it
yeah,
is.
exactly.
Let's go.
And it's not even
Can
like
we-
they cut to the next scene and Aurora Borealis is there. It like appears in like half a second. It just like shows up in the sky.
Can we get some shooting stars, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
But yeah.
I was gonna
I mean,
say.
I want to talk.
Or go
I
ahead.
wanna-
Go ahead, Adelaide.
No, you go ahead, because I'm bringing the train back, so you keep going.
Oh, I was gonna go to like right after when they landed.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say when she's like, so what are you gonna do? And he's like, I'll come up. Give me until tomorrow. I'll come up with a plan. I wrote down, Jay Baruchel, your Canadian is showing.
Oh yeah, no,
It
he
was like
says
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tomorrow.
a whole bunch of times I
It's
noticed
the only
that.
really it's the only time that I really caught the Canadian thing. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, and well, yeah, that brings up another point: is that why does everybody have a Scottish accent except for the kids?
That's true.
I have no idea. That was one of the first things I wrote, and you know what I think? I think artistically they might say that they're trying to really draw the line between the old guard and like the new generation
Right.
or something. But practically it doesn't make sense. I can't really defend it.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the frame of reference to learn that.
Right.
Unless it's a bit, unless it's an intentional, this is going to be really weird and it's going to throw people off, but then they're going to accept it and they're not going to ask
You
questions.
think all the
later.
kids are in on it, and they're like, "We're gonna fuck with our parents, and we're gonna speak in this weird made-up accent."
Yeah, we're just gonna mess around. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really know on that one.
Screw you, Dad. I don't have an accent.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I also wanted to note, like, if we make such a big deal about how Night Furies are so rare and nobody's ever really seen one, how come every time Toothless shows up anywhere, everyone recognizes it as a Night Fury, like, on site?
That's true.
Like-
Well, because when he like shoots lightning, it's like, okay, they knew that's a Night Fury. But when he's just like around,
Yeah, I was
They
gonna say, I think
recognize-
Astrid recognizes him as a Night Fury, doesn't she?
I think she does. I don't know that she name drops him, because when she
Yeah.
shows up and she's like, "Get down," she doesn't necessarily say, "Night Fury, get down." But I think that
There were
everybody.
at least a couple of times where people were like, "Oh my God, it's a Night Fury!" It's like there's not a drawing in the book. Like, how do you know?
yeah, we have one book.
Oh, you're right,
And
there
there's
isn't
no
one.
drawing.
Well, I think the only people who ever really say who recognize it are adults, and they probably have an idea of what it looks like. They've probably seen the silhouette, and they know it's black as
Right.
night and everything. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe they're thinking, oh, it's a black dragon. I'm going to assume it's the worst, and I'm going to get out of the way. That's the only thing I
Yeah.
could say to justify
Yeah.
that. I don't know. But I see what you mean.
Let's see, where are we at? Okay, so
He's fighting the dragon.
right. So around this time we can get to like them like going out to the Dragon's Lair and checking that out, yeah?
Oh, dude, that shot where the dad is standing in the tunnel that they've just
Yeah,
broken
man.
open, and they set the fireball over his head, and it's just complete darkness. And then
Yeah.
you just see, like, it just like go all the way down this tunnel with dragons just all over the place. It's like the coolest shot. It's so good.
Yeah, no, that whole sequence, and even before, like, there's like 4 like really great like suspense gags in that scene where it's like they get on the boat and they like step on the beach and everything goes quiet. That's creepy as fuck. They see all the dragons like that. That's crazy. And then when all the dragons like come out of the cave and just like fly away, that's super creepy also. Like, there's so much in that movie that's like, this is like about to get crazy.
Yeah, and then it does.
Yeah, no, totally. It's like, honestly, I think it's one of the best like suspense building sequences in recent memory. Like, it works like super well. I was really surprised at how creative like that sequence particularly is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big dragons is super cool too.
And then the Hive
Red
Mother, Queen Dragon.
That big kaiju dragon.
God, she's so cool.
Yeah. I think her official name is the Red Death, I think.
The Red Death, even though she's blue.
Gray? Blue-gray?
Yeah.
Okay,
she shoots red.
She does, yeah.
Literally, I just have in my notes, I just have written down the word kaiju.
Kaiju. I have a feeling Godzilla was probably on the brain when you wrote that.
Yeah,
I still
just
need
a
to see
little
that.
bit.
I don't think we've ever discussed this on the podcast.
No, Jackson, shut the fuck up.
No, okay, we need to ask
Sit
Ilan.
down.
Ilan,
What's up?
would you consider the Peach from James and the Giant Peach a kaiju?
The Peach?
Yes.
I've never really thought about it like that.
Yeah,
It's
nobody
not a
has. We need you to answer the
sentient
question.
thing. It's not a kaiju. It doesn't have thoughts. It doesn't move. It's not a
birds
kaiju.
do. The
Wait a
birds
second.
The birds
piloting
aren't the peach. The birds are the birds.
Well, how did that Peach get so big? What happened to it again?
They got kissed by a princess or something. I don't remember James and the Giant
So
Peach.
it was like magic or something.
His hatred of his aunts made the peach grow big. I don't remember.
His kaiju-sized hatred of his ants. You
I'm
could
gonna kill you,
say.
Jackson.
Well,
I'm gonna kill you dead.
The
I would
birds
say-
and the peach together form
No.
a unit which is a kaiju. Those
No.
birds are a kaiju.
No, the birds are a group of birds carrying a big peach. The peach is not a kaiju. It does not have sentient thought. It can't move. Also, your whole theory was that a kaiju has to take out a building. And the peach doesn't take out a building. It just sits on top of the Empire State Building. It gets stabbed by the Empire State Building.
But if they had
I remember
wanted to take out the Empire State Building, they could have. You don't think that
It
peach
didn't,
could have
though.
worked
It
as a
can't.
battering ram
The
against the
peach is
Empire State
squishy.
Building?
the birds would have wanted to take it out at that point because the Peach doesn't have
Yeah.
any say-so in that
Right.
situation,
Yeah, because
right?
the peach is a fucking peach,
For all
Jackson!
intents and
It's not a
purposes.
kaiju!
For all intents and purposes, those birds are the kaiju.
No! A flock of seagulls is not a kaiju!
They would
it's
be
a flock
if
of
they had a
seagulls.
giant wrecking ball attached to them.
And they don't, though! They have a peach!
Here's what I'll say. I think that you both make some great arguments. I would say that at the moment, you both have convinced me that the two of those things together, the Peach exclusively, I would not necessarily say is kaiju. I'd say it's some kind of, I don't know, biological freak or
peach.
something. It's some kind of botanical freak. But with the birds, I think you have an argument. That thing is kaiju.
Yeah, I know I do.
No,
I think you have an
don't.
argument with the birds.
Okay,
If there's no birds to like give it mobility or ability in that instance, then it's not really.
Thank you, Elin.
It's not very kaiju-like.
No. Every time you see a flock of seagulls in a
It fits
parking
in the
lot,
middle.
are you like, man, look at that kaiju?
But
No,
those
but
seagulls
if I-
don't have a peach with it. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Okay, Adeline, we can all agree that
It's in the
Mechagodzilla is
middle.
a kaiju, yes?
It's in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mechagodzilla is piloted by a man. It doesn't have sentient thoughts or feelings of
Okay,
its
but
own.
then we're arguing about how sentient are birds, and they're not really. They
Birds
have
are as
eat
sentient
French
as
fry
Godzilla
and fly
is.
to land.
I feel like we should wrap up this last little bit of Dragon 1 and then come back to this
Okay.
in a second. If I could say
I'll
one
kill
quick
you,
thing.
Jackson.
If I could say one quick thing about Astrid, actually. I had something about her from this thing. I may have already said it, but I thought that when she gosh dang it, where did I write that? Yeah, or I was also going to add, when I was talking earlier about the stakes of her, like what she had to lose with Hiccup in the ring. This is a little bit before, but she also, so I wrote down that she cares about the greater good, because you have to be when you're a soldier in this society, but now she cares about someone other than herself. And then later in the battle, when Hiccup and Toothless save her, like I wrote down that I felt like it was sort of a show of respect and comradeship, but it's also an act of love, and I think that she definitely feels that when it happens. And I thought that shot was really cool when they scoop down and put her on the ground, and then the camera like comes from behind and comes around on her face in a close-up when she says like go or something like that. It was such a cool sequence. I love that.
Yeah, it's very well shot, especially when they like first catch her and there's a shot of her dangling, and then like Toothless looks down and smiles at her. Like you can tell that a relationship has been built.
Yeah, and then she smiles back at him, and it's great.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, once they get there and they're like fighting the big blue dragon, which is called the Red Thing, whatever.
The Red Death, yeah.
I guess the fire's red. That's still stupid though. Whatever.
Yeah.
But that whole sequence, that like action set piece at the end, is just it's so gorgeous. Like when they're
So cool.
fighting in the air, and there's that bit where the red dragon,
Just call it the Queen Dragon.
the queen dragon, just
The
flips
Red
out and
Death.
starts like Red Death. When the
Yeah,
Red
yeah.
Death just flips out and starts like spraying fire and like twisting around in the air, shooting fire everywhere. It's
Yeah.
so cool. It's just gorgeous.
I think our dad is famous for saying that How to Train Your Dragon is the only film that he's
Yeah.
not regretted seeing in 3D. So he
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
that's the one movie I've seen where it's like they absolutely used that 3D effect to their advantage and made something really, really pretty.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, our dad says that every time we go to a movie.
Yep.
He says he just kind of recalls How to Train Your Dragon and was like, man, that was such a great experience in the theater. That's so
I
cool.
guess so.
Yeah.
Because
He
we're
always
always
talks
talking
about
about
the
3D
ash.
movies.
Oh, the ash at the very end when they've
Yeah.
Yeah.
like ground zero. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that was a cool transition too. Do you guys think that the Red Death's death or ending that it works when it basically explodes when it hits the ground?
I don't know.
I thought it
I literally wrote down really cool until the dragon explodes.
See, I wrote down it's such a cool idea, but I wrote down I think it works. Right? Because right before that,
Honestly,
because they light
Like,
the,
if it,
they
like-
light the gas that's inside him, so he basically
Right.
is like
Yeah.
a bomb. So when he hits the
Yeah.
ground, it kind of makes sense. But
But
maybe
it's too much. It's the mushroom cloud. It looks like an action movie
Sure,
explosion.
sure.
It's like if the dragon is full of gas and you lit the gas, so it should be kind of like erupting. It just needed to erupt in like a more subtle way.
yeah, if the physical
'Cause, like-
properties were a little more ironed out, if there was more kind of
Yeah.
like molten flesh around or something, maybe that would work.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though. Imagine the alternative where we just get to see this horrible mangled corpse of a giant dragon who's just smashed headfirst into the earth
In a PG
for the
movie,
entirety of that last
Hell
sequence.
yes. What are you talking about?
In
I
this
would love that.
PG-13 or this PG-rated children's movie.
that
What
would
are
be
you
interesting.
talking about? I would pay money to see that.
Yeah, I would see that. But
Just
yeah,
imagine
about
like
the
the
shot
back of
right
its
before
skull
it-
coming out of its anus, like the whole thing just like crumpled into a pile of
What about
horrible
that
flesh.
shot right before it explodes where it's falling to the ground and like its wings are like being burned off?
Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
badass.
brutal.
tearing, yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of that hurts.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
there's this moment in the new Godzilla movie where Ghidorah like picks Godzilla up and like flies him way into the air and drops him, and he like catches fire like a fucking meteor as he's falling down to the ground. And it's like the
What?
coolest thing I've ever seen.
That is really cool.
It's not really relevant, but it's just kind of like that, and it kicks ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, Jackson liked Godzilla.
I'm gonna see if I can see that tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah,
I'd love to go
I mean,
see
okay,
that,
here's
yeah.
the thing about Godzilla King of Monsters. All of the action stuff, like all the big kaiju stuff, is incredible. every single sequence that involves two people talking to each other is so embarrassingly bad. It's like it's hard to understand almost.
I think that's literally every single Godzilla movie.
Yeah, maybe.
Like even the OG, I think that's just what
Right.
Godzilla movies
Yeah,
are like.
they clearly they put
the-
so much care into these giant action pieces, and they're so gorgeous. And like I said earlier, every one of these monsters has like its own like color scheme. Like Godzilla shoots these blue flames, and Ghidorah has like lightning powers and shoots like lightning beams out of its mouth. They're like this bright yellow.
Right,
And
yeah.
they've got Mothra that like glows green, and Rodan has like wings that are always on fire. So they've all got these really distinct colors to them. And whenever they're fighting, it's just like, it's so beautiful. And then they cut down to like Vera Farmiga and Jason Clarke or whoever it was, like down on the ground, and they're just like, but we can't.
Kyle Chandler, I think.
Kyle Chandler, yeah, I always get them
Yeah.
mixed up.
Yeah.
They're just like, but we can't fight the kaiju. What if we lose? And you're like, God damn it! Like,
Oh man.
Wow.
you had me so much, and then you just like, God, like,
Yeah.
Just be a Godzilla movie.
I know, like the direction of the actors was so bad.
Oh, it's
anyway,
too bad.
sorry. The end.
Anyway.
Okay, How to Train Your Dragon. The dragon explodes.
So we're a little bit mixed. It's a bit of a mixed bag overall for if that
Honestly,
works.
I didn't think about it when it happened. Like that didn't even register as something weird to me when I was watching it.
Okay.
You're just like, this might as well happen.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
it
didn't even think about it. I
works.
was like, yeah, the dragon hits the ground and explodes.
Yep.
Come on,
Uh-huh.
boy.
Yeah, I mean, going back and watching a lot of movies for this podcast, I've like been able to like collect parts of different movies that still like get me and make me tear up a little bit. And I was kind of surprised that I didn't get any of that in this movie, especially because there's some pretty sad parts. But the part where Hiccup first wakes up and puts both his legs over the bed and realizes that he's missing a leg, that still gets me. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's still, I do kind of think that it's kind of weird that he loses a leg based on what we've seen. Like, he just kind of falls and gets caught and kind of goes through some fire. I don't know.
Shut up, Jackson.
Okay, fine. I mean,
yeah,
I
I don't
love that he loses a leg. I think that's a great, like, narrative piece, and there's not a lot of, like, children's movies who will take, like a permanent physical change in one of its characters going forward, and it's a really gutsy move, and I like it for doing that. But he just kind of falls
Shut up,
and
Jackson.
gets caught.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be if we had more context to like check the logic of like how he was positioned as he fell.
Right.
To kind of make sure that the leg makes the most sense as for something to lose. But
Yeah.
I mean, but again, I respect the choice as well because, being able to go there and make sure that this kind of had a cost and that it meant something.
Yeah,
also,
for
I
sure.
think it really works for me. Yeah, and I also think that before that, when Stoic, says thank you for saving my son, I wrote down, this is kind of obvious, but that's his arc. That's accepting dragons and like mending things with his son and everything. And I think the whole father-son journey in this movie is something very resonant and palpable that I hear a lot of people talk about. And I'm certainly one of those people who really appreciates that.
Yeah, as bare bones as the plot of this movie really is, like that father-son relationship is really what kind of gives the plot like a little bit more of like more weight behind the plot is that father-son relationship that I think really sells Hiccup as a character. Because if he was just a misfit, it would be whatever. But it's the fact that he's a misfit who has this father figure that he wants to be proud of him and wants to be like, but at the same time doesn't want to basically make the same mistakes as him. I think it's such a really cool, compelling narrative.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, do you think we're about ready to wrap it up? Do we have any final thoughts on How to Train Your Dragon?
I would say that again the narration at the end kind of bookends with the fact that there's a new stasis and that dragons are here now, and for a lot of those people, for the dragon riders, the dragons are kind of like their best friends in a way, which is really cool. And I think that the fact that we were able to see the integration of dragons and humans in a society was really cool to see at the very end. I think that it's cool that we got really well-made sequels to this movie, but just, you know, in the case that we didn't, it's great that we got to see sort of a vision of something greater that seemed like very slim at the very beginning, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Especially with DreamWorks and their history of sequels.
Yeah, but yeah, it's cool that we got to see a vision of, you know, two communities coming together who don't understand each other, and because of that they fear each other and they seek violence against each other. But really it just takes, you know, two, you know, it takes Hiccup and Toothless to extend the olive branch, and that kind of brings the two communities together. And it's awesome that by the end, you know, I think that having Hiccup lose his leg also kind of, you know, derivatively shows that him and Toothless really complete each other, you know, because they can't fly without one another now. Now they're kind of connected, you know, for almost all time, because they were there when each of their lives changed from a devastating injury. So I think that kind of seeing that relationship end the way it does on that note, with all these other people with these new relationships with their dragons and stuff like that, is really, really cool. And I'm glad we got to see that. And we didn't have that left. We didn't have all of it left to the imagination. We got a little piece of it to take with us, and I thought that was really cool.
Right, yeah. What if... Okay, I mean, okay. Here's I'm just thinking. So this movie's basically Romeo and Juliet, right?
A little bit. Like platonic.
Basically exactly
Romeo
the same.
And Juliet.
Here's my hot take. They should have both died. They should have just both died.
Okay, Jackson.
I mean, they can't... Well, when you see the third movie, you'll see why they couldn't both die. You know what I mean?
Or, you know, you could watch this movie,
I'd love to know the reason why they couldn't just both die.
Well, because then you wouldn't get to the third movie, Jackson.
Toothless and Hiccup should have both killed themselves. I will die on this hill.
Nah. Would have been a crazy way to go.
I'm loading the gun.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on to our secondary things. I am gonna go to the bathroom real quick though.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys enjoy yourselves. I'll be right back.
Go bonkers.
All right.
I have to figure out what my secondary thing is.
Awesome. Da-dum, 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 da-dum.
Okay, I'm back. Did you guys say anything funny?
What's up? No. We kind of...
There was silence as I tried to figure out where I need to go for this.
Yeah. We left a little bit of dead air, not too much.
Well, that's on you guys, because there's no editing in this podcast. It's going up exactly as is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you don't edit anything ever,
it's not.
Jackson.
Okay. Where are we? Okay. Adeline, do you want to start with your secondary thing?
Me?
Yes.
Yes, I can. All right. Hello.
Do it,
My name is Adeline. I have... Sorry. So my secondary thing for today, that's kind of old news, but I just started watching it, is the Amazon TV series, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. Oh my god. All right. So it's this story about this Jewish woman in the late 1950s, late 1950s,
1960s,
early 1960s. I combined 50s and 60s into the 60s.
That's great. When I set my weird steampunk dystopia, I'm gonna...
In the 60s?
Be set in 1962.
Anyway, Mrs. Maisel is this woman, Miriam Midge Maisel, she's got the hardest name to say, is this woman who is happily married to her husband. They have 2 children. She's had her whole life mapped out for her. She's this very headstrong woman. And then her husband wants to have a comedy career, and he totally bombs. He doesn't do it. And because of this, he ends up leaving her, and her whole life is just like totally destroyed in her lap, especially for being Upper West Side, very well off 1950s housewife. Her life is just totally destroyed because her husband leaves her. And so the story is basically how Miriam kind of comes into her own life and takes charge of her own life, and as she herself decides to go into comedy. And it's such a good show. It's so good. Saying it in the 50s just automatically means that it's going to have an amazing and pretty aesthetic. Like, I think it won quite a few awards for its
Golden Globes,
a whole bunch of
Emmys.
awards.
Yeah.
But for costume design and set design specifically, I think, because oh man, the costumes in the show are so pretty and so in the time period and so colorful. Like, it's such a beautiful show to look at. And I am very proud of this show for how much it criticizes the 1950s for a show that's set in the 1950s.
Right.
Especially this kind of like lighthearted show. Like, of course not everything in the 1950s is like, man, the 1950s were great, but I feel like a lot of light stuff really is like, hey, look how great the 1950s were. But Marvelous Miss Maisel really kind of like puts it in perspective, and it's like, man, this woman's life is ruined because her husband divorced her, and like really looks at all the really messed up gender roles of the time. And it does such a good job of criticizing the 1950s while also kind of appreciating it. Like, it's just this really cool balance that I feel like they do really well.
Have you ever been so not funny that you destroy your wife's entire existence?
Yeah.
This guy has.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think that this show really, because I'm all caught up. I've watched the first 2 seasons, and
I'm on episode 2 of the second season, so don't spoil.
Season 2's great. I think that
Tony Shalhoub dies.
If you, no, he doesn't.
He's gonna die in real life.
If you just finished, if anybody out there has finished Game of Thrones and you're looking for the next, what probably is the next like best thing on television, period, like Miss Maisel is probably up there among the best of the best.
Good.
And don't.
Oh, she's also Jewish. That's like a huge part of it. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, it does such a great job.
Did I say that?
It does such a great job of exploring the comedy landscape at the time and like social landscape and what different kinds of people are going through. You have a lot of other great characters other than, Rachel Brosnahan's Midge Maisel. You have Alex Borstein, who plays this great kind of manager to Midge in her comedy career, because she kind of, and it's cool because you have Joel Maisel, who's Midge's husband, who also is kind of present. And you see what he's struggling with. You have his family. You have Tony Shalhoub as, Midge Maisel's dad and her mom and everything.
The dad is such a cool character.
Yeah, and they're all such great characters. And season 2 really takes them for a ride, which is really, really neat. And yeah, so it's just a great show. And it's not a true comedy in a sense. Like, it's so funny, but it also is so hard hitting so many times. Yeah, I just think it's one of the best things on television. Really phenomenal writing and directing and camera work. I think it's just some of those one takes that they have are just incredible. It's insane. Production design is off the charts.
So
My
what do you
dad
guys think?
really-
Oh, go ahead, Adeline.
My dad really likes to watch these kind of documentaries about comedy, and they're actually really interesting, where they're talking about like comedy, like what is comedy, the history of comedy, like talking about like censorship and stuff, like what's going too far, what's been too far in the past, what's too far now, what's the conversation going on about that kind of thing. And so it's really interesting. And then to go to this show that's based so much further in the past than the 1950s, and to have them having that conversation about censorship, I think is really funny, because like she gets arrested basically for just swearing and saying stuff that she shouldn't be saying on a stage in the 1950s.
Yeah.
I think it's just really funny that conversation still gets continued so much even way back then.
Yeah.
What do you guys think the odds are that in the series finale, when the show's finally over, that Tony Shalhoub's wife gets killed in a car bomb and it's a stealth monk prequel?
That would be crazy.
I want your odds. I want your odds.
Low.
Very low.
I don't know how to do the whole like 1 to 2 or whatever that you do.
Yeah, I don't know how to do the math on this.
I can't do that.
Where do I put money on this?
Yeah. Who do I talk to?
It's like, if you do that, it's like minus something to win $100, like minus 300. You bet 300 to win $100. I don't know.
I'm going to put $100 on this now, and it's such a long shot that when it happens, I'm going to be a millionaire. I just want you guys all to know.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to talk about your secondary
Wait,
thing?
real quick, on the IMDb page that I'm on for this, it has, like, the tags, so you can, like, find it and stuff, which is fine, but one of them is just Judaism.
Judaism?
And it's like...
That's cool.
Yeah. Let's see, what are the tags?
What could
Yeah,
Judaism...
I can't find them anymore.
There's a lot of
Yeah, no, tell me
stakes.
what the top Judaism movies are.
I don't know.
There's
I can't find
yeah.
the tags anymore.
There's a lot of stakes within the show that drives certain storylines related to Judaism. So when you're a Jew in this day and age, you know, if you're having a certain religious figure over, that's a really big deal. So sometimes there are things that we're like, oh my goodness, they're coming over. What are we going to do? There's holidays and different decorum and stuff like that. So it's a great show. Watch it. Amazon
It's
Prime.
really
It's on
good.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phenomenal
Okay, I
show.
clicked on the Judaism tag, and the first thing is Marvelous Miss Maisel, and then the second thing is Murder on the Orient Express. So,
I'm
Judaism.
trying to think, what other... A Serious Man? That's a Coen Brothers movie. Is A Serious Man on there?
then you have Nymphomaniac Volume 1,
Oh.
The Holy Mountain,
Oh.
Exodus, Gods and Kings.
That makes sense, okay.
Lenny,
Interesting.
Lord of War, The Prince of
Oh,
Egypt,
interesting.
and then the Ten
Okay.
Commandments,
Okay.
Yeah.
Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
Well, whoa.
And-
That's way too low on the list.
It's number 10.
Fiddler?
Yeah, Fiddler.
That's a great Jewish movie.
I like that the Ten Commandments from 1956 is on here, and it's number 9.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good movie. Prince of Egypt is
Anyway.
over that.
God.
Yeah, that number 8 is Prince of Egypt.
Well, that's a great movie too. Yeah.
It is a very good
What
movie.
about A Serious
Anyway,
Man, though? A Serious Man's a good movie, IMDb. Put it on your Judaism list.
Well, that was like an IMDb.
on.
That was like an IMDb user who just like made a list, right?
Oh, was it really?
truth.
Maybe a lot of users make.
No,
their
it
own
was
lists.
like the tag for Judaism.
Oh, yeah.
Really interesting. Well,
Yeah.
they must do that for user ratings. You know.
Sort by popularity.
Yeah. It's not quite the most objective list. They
Tisk,
need to
tisk.
do a better job of that. Do we want to go to my thing?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I said we were going to talk about CinemaSins, but not in the way you thought. So my piece of media, since you guys talk about CinemaSins every now and then in the show,
Yeah.
I'm bringing a YouTube channel. It's called CinemaWins with a W, my man. So it's a great channel. It's essentially, it's kind of the same formula. So if you enjoy watching CinemaSins on YouTube, if you're one of like the 8 million people who subscribe to them,
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, join the tribe. CinemaWins right now is like 1.2 million subscribers, which is not bad, but you know, everybody can always use some more clicks, more views. And so if you want a little more of like a positive kind of outlook on movies, you know, because here's the thing, I like CinemaSins. I don't think the CinemaSins is bad for film criticism. I think that they poke fun. And they poke fun, and they use satire in a very interesting way to discuss movies. And I think CinemaWins, this host who does it, it's just one guy. He does a really great job of looking at the good things that movies do. And it's the same thing, you know. He has a script, he has a little win counter and stuff like that. He's done the original How to Train Your Dragon and How to Train Your Dragon 2. His most recent episode, I believe, from like 3 days ago, is the first Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, directed by Mark Webb. So he's a really cool guy, and he has a really cool 2-part video about Infinity War that is really dope, and that's really cool.
Man,
So
I love
he'll
Infinity War so much.
he'll count off the wins, and then he'll kind of have a little bit of a discussion at the end about his overall thoughts about the movie and stuff like that.
Oh, that's kind
and
of
it's really cool. And also, sorry to make it kind of a 2-for-1, but if you also like positivity about movies and about kind of giving a second look at movies that maybe people don't like for some reason, there was a great series on YouTube called Film Negative, and this guy basically looks at movies like he's looked at like Prometheus or like King. I don't know if he did King Kong, but he did some other things, the Hobbit movies, and he looks at sort of like movies that have been set aside because for one reason or another, and kind of challenges viewers to his challenge is to look for things that maybe deserve a second look, that are good, and maybe a movie that isn't the best overall. So yeah, if you ever want a good watch on video essays on YouTube, look at CinemaWins with a W and Film Negative.
I'm looking at that Film Negative playlist right now, and the first episode appears to be about Iron Man 3, so it already has me. Because
Yeah.
I am
What
Planet
movie is it
Earth's
about?
biggest Iron Man 3 apologist.
Oh yeah.
Iron Man 3 is really good.
Iron Man 3 is great. It's my third favorite Marvel movie, and everybody says
I know
it's
I'm your
bad.
sister,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like that movie's really good.
Yeah,
Have
it
both of you
rules.
seen Endgame?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
Sorry, spoilers for Endgame, but we love you, Tony Stark. We love you 3000.
Yeah, spoilers for Endgame. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. And we love you 3000.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Well,
They're on the internet. They know.
Yeah.
I was going. No, it's okay because the Russo brothers lifted the spoiler ban, so now it's legal to just say
Exactly.
whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, you won't get banned from Twitter.
Exactly.
Is that true?
God. Yeah, no, dude, people got like executed. There's still Nazis there, but no
But-
one that ever spoiled Endgame.
Right.
But people had
Okay.
so little self-control about Game of Thrones. My goodness. So
Oh,
many
yeah.
spoilers. Ugh.
Oh, it's because everyone was furious
Yeah, everybody
about
hated it.
Yeah,
Nobody
but like
even
literally,
cared
they
about
would
it.
like they would within hours of the episode, they would just be talking about it, and I'd have to avoid it and watch it. Yeah, it was annoying.
I've never seen a frame of Game of Thrones.
What about the one where there's a
It's-
Starbucks cup in it?
That I did not notice that
What?
when I watched that episode for the first time. I didn't notice it. It was crazy.
Did you
But I
not
thought it
hear
was
about
funny.
that, Adeline?
No, I didn't. What?
Like
was
the
funny.
second to last episode of Game of Thrones, there's a scene where there's straight up a Starbucks cup, like on a table.
Yeah. It was
Like in
episode.
canon?
It was.
I don't know,
episode
like-
804. So episode 4 of season 8, basically the episode after the Battle of Winterfell. There's a
Oh,
Starbucks
yeah.
cup in the frame. I didn't notice it, but someone else did. And we talked about it in the season finale. In the series finale, there was a water bottle behind somebody's chair.
Oh, really?
Come on, guys.
It was so funny.
Come
That's
on,
so
guys.
funny.
Yeah.
I
it
mean,
was
okay.
real.
On that note, though, it's gotta be so grueling to work on a TV show like that.
I bet it's your last season. Like you gotta,
Right.
Do you know?
No,
do you
you
guys?
gotta do some stuff.
Do you guys know that on episode 803, The Long Night, on that one episode alone of just straight battle, they spent 55 nights shooting that?
God.
Oh,
That's
jeez.
Wow, that's
crazy.
insane.
It's
I was gonna say,
crazy.
usually television has like a really accelerated schedule, but I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is big enough that they can basically just treat it like a movie, huh?
No, I mean, yeah, they spent 2
I mean,
years.
they've
They
had
took a
some-
year off to
Right.
do
Yeah.
season 8, and I mean, we won't get into it, but I think that the biggest problem with season 8 was just not enough time. They could have used maybe an 8-episode season as opposed to a 6-episode one, but that's neither here nor there.
As someone who hasn't seen a frame of Game of Thrones, my biggest problem with it is that the books, they're not. They haven't been. They're not done yet.
Yeah,
Where are they?
I know. Where they at though? George R.
Have
R.
you
Martin,
guys
we need those
seen-
books.
Hey, George.
Have you guys seen that like group interview with George R. R. Martin and Stephen King about like their writing processes?
I don't think I have.
Is
no.
it just them? Okay. Oh my god.
It's so funny. Literally, I haven't seen the whole thing, but there's just like basically this clip that's like Stephen King talking about like treating writing like it's your full-time job, because it is. You know, you have to sit down every day and make sure you're writing a certain amount of words a day. You have to make sure that you're clearing out distractions and like making sure that you're working like it's a 9-to-5 job in order to create, because it's serious and it's important, you know. And then George R. R. Martin is like, I have a trampoline in my backyard. And I like to
Okay,
jump on it.
Stephen King also publishes a book a day.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like,
No, that's what makes it
and-
so funny.
and 90% of them are bad. So
Yeah. I don't know.
Stephen King is like the Beatles. The stuff that's famous is because it's really good. The stuff that's not famous is because it's not good.
Okay, so for my secondary thing, I was gonna talk about a different thing. Do you guys want me to talk about Godzilla instead?
You can talk whatever you want to talk about.
What are the choices? It's up to you, man. But
You know what? I've already talked about Godzilla this episode. I'll do the regular thing. Okay, so my bit today is the Happy Death Day movies, both of them.
ooh,
Oh yeah, you really like the first one.
Okay.
I don't know. That's it's saying I like them is an interesting statement. They're just surprisingly fun. The first one I saw in theaters when it came out, and it's this story about this girl who's like this sorority girl who gets murdered, but then she like wakes up. It's like Groundhog Day, except she gets murdered at the end of every day.
Yeah.
So she has to like solve the mystery of who's been killing her and what she has to do in order to break the loop or whatever. And these movies are hilarious to me because the first one came out in October of 2000. 2017, and the second one came out in February of 2019. That's like a less than 2-year turnaround on these movies, which is just insane. But like, both of them, the second one even slightly more so, I finally watched the second one a little while ago, are just, I don't know, they're just really tight, and there's nothing really exceptional about them, but they're just like kind of creative and pulpy and fun, and like both of them have been kind of equally good, and I'm just really surprised by how much I enjoy both of them. It's I don't know, I like the second one a lot better, but part of that might be because I wasn't watching it in a movie theater and I could look at my phone when it got boring. But yeah, I want to recommend these movies to people because, you know, they're sort of like under the radar to a certain extent, and like, you know, they're not anything groundbreaking, but both of them like are a lot of fun and are totally worth seeing. I will say that the first one especially is not non-sexist, but
Okay.
it's just, I don't know, it's just really male gazy, and all the girls are really hot the whole time, and that's like, I don't know, it's like a horror movie pulpy kind of thing. So that's,
We already talked about that.
yeah, so that's part of it, but still, like, they're really fun, and they're a lot of fun to watch. They're nice and short and sweet, and I really think it's like worth anybody's time to check out one of, if not both of those movies, because I like them a lot.
Yeah. If I could throw one quick thing in here, I saw Long Shot in the theater the other day. It was like on a Tuesday, or no, it was like a Thursday at like 12:45 in the afternoon with 2 other people in the theater. It was so good. Like,
I've heard so many good things about Long Shot. I want to see it.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it. Really quick, if you don't know what that is, it's in theaters right now. It's this comedy about this Secretary of State played by Charlize Theron. Her name is Charlotte Field, and she's getting ready. She's halfway through her president's term, and she figures out that he's not going to go for re-election, and she starts to mount a presidential campaign, and she's looking at the optics with her team, and the lowest trait on her thing is like that she's not funny enough. Her humor isn't really high, so they say find a speechwriter who can kind of punch up your commentary and your speeches and make you more likable. And so she ends up having a chance encounter with someone from her past, this guy named Fred, played by Seth Rogen, who's a journalist who's really funny and a really good writer. And so they end up having a chance encounter in New York, and they end up linking up, and they end up working together. She ends up bringing him in. And so it's this great kind of political satire rom-com that's just, it's phenomenal, and it's so heartwarming. So recommend it very much.
So, do you guys want to hear a 1-star review of How to Train Your Dragon?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So, I didn't screen cap the username. So, I guess he'll just have to go anonymous for now. But he gives it 1 star out of 5, and he says, very overrated. Nowhere near being one of the best films ever produced. It's actually very mediocre and overrated. There are only 3 characters that you can even actually care for in the film. The rest can go and die. The action is few. The action is few and far between and not very entertaining. The character designs are quite off as well. Overrated film indeed. Then he types out 5 out of 10 at the bottom.
5 out of 10.
I hate this film so much. 5 out of 10.
It's so bad. 5 out of 10.
All right, my name's Jackson McMurray.
My name's Adeline McMurray.
Oh, I'm Ilan.
And this is No Nerds Allowed.
That's
And Elan's also here.
They're no nerds allowed. They're not. Get out.
And I love how he says there are only 3 characters that are actually you can care about. It's like there aren't that many characters. That's most of the characters. Like,
There's only 3 of them. If you like anyone that isn't those 3, you're in trouble.